Well, it happened. 57-7. Texas defeated Texas Tech in Austin to end really for the conceivable future uh, the series. And welcome to the live chat. I'm Jared Johnson. This is brought to you by Red Ritter Outfitter. I don't want to say like I'm like devastated would be an overstatement, but I'm disappointed because Texas Tech had been playing better. Texas is clearly a very good team and clearly better than Texas Tech. But to get blown out to end the series like this, just the way you couldn't have written a worse script for Texas Tech and better for Texas to end the series. So that's disappointing. Uh, Mikey Five says, "Brave fellow hopping on. Respect. What a rough one. Guns up forever." Yep. I promised this whole live stream thing was asked from my customers and subscribers on Inside the Red Raiders, and they even asked to do it on YouTube. So, and I pledged to do it after every game, win or loss, and so here I am. I believe in showing up. I, I hate to segue like this, but only a few Red Raiders showed up, and most of them were on defense, though the score would indicate it. Taj Brooks had a good game. Braylon Lux had a really good game. A couple of guys up front played really hard. But other than that, Texas dominated really every phase of the game, even on special teams, big block punt for them. Also a kick return to open the second half. And then Tech's offense was just in a season in which Tech produced probably the worst offense we've seen in decades. I mean, Mighty Joe Yeager has mentioned going back to the 80s, maybe. This was the worst performance by far, in my opinion. I know Texas is very good defensively, especially up front, but really poor performance, poor execution outside of Taj Brooks, maybe a couple of the offensive line, but the offensive line just got worked. I got to like edit myself from saying a couple of different things. They got pushed around. Really, not really the whole offensive line, not just one or two guys, but Rusty Stats and Monroe Mills really struggled. And Stats had a couple penalties, gave up at least a couple sacks, more pressures. It was ugly. I got some comments coming in already. Mike Bowers, what's up, man? I love your YouTube channel, by the way. And of course, your voice on the Inside the Red Raiders board. He says most disappointing loss since 2008 against OU. This sucks. Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you. RL says embarrassing loss. So disappointed. Where do we go from here? Well, they go to a bowl game. I think I've called it the who gives a damn bowl, but they are going to a bowl game. They'll get those practices and all that stuff. It'll probably be the Independence Bowl or First Responders Bowl or some bowl, but early in December more than likely. And good to Texas Tech for winning those 3 games in a row, but man, ending the regular season this way was really rough. Jason Mameli says, how can we watch the post-game presser? Oh, and fire Kidley. Yes, they should post it on YouTube. I'm not there. They used to do it where we could I think it started with COVID and all that in 2020 where we could Zoom and still ask questions, but I think they did away with that because of so many technical difficulties they had with it. But I don't even know if we'll have one next week. Normally, win or lose, they don't have a press conference the next week, so we'll see if they will. Maybe McGuire will. He's usually a pretty stand-up guy about that kind of stuff. But yeah, so we'll see. But they should post it on YouTube. Mikey Five says, will Kelly survive this season? He probably will, but I've been slow to, jump on the fire this guy, fire that guy bandwagon. But Kitley, I will say this. If Texas Tech chose to go a different route, that would be fine by me. If he comes back, let's hope he learns some stuff this year. Some of the things that really bothered me beyond just them being slow to transition to focusing on Taj earlier in the year, and I think it cost them at least one, maybe more games early in the season. uh, is this thing. This drives me crazy. This is just, there's a lot more than this, but we saw it against Texas tonight. We saw it last week, even in the win over UCF, and we've seen it consistently this year. But when the receivers consistently run routes 1 or 2 yards short of the line to gain of the first down marker on third or fourth down, it just drives me insane. This isn't a team that's explosive after the catch, uh, really explosive, period. And the fact that they do that so often drives me insane. Uh, there was one series where on third down, it's Coy Aiken he does this a lot, and so they must be coached to do this because they're not changing it. But he ran about 2 yards short of the first down marker on third down, caught the pass, was immediately tackled. And then the next play, same thing with Taj, 2 yards short, caught the pass and was immediately tackled, and Tech turned the ball over. Now, I mean, getting the first down there wouldn't have changed the outcome of this game, but why is that being coached? Why is that a thing? I mean, or if it's not exactly being coached that way, why hasn't it been corrected yet? I mean, it's the 12th game of the season. That drives me crazy. All right, but to answer your question, I mean, I think he'll probably come back, but again, I wouldn't have a problem if they went another route. Decimus Maximus Decimus Meridius, my favorite name on here, says, Sir Jarrett, happy belated Turkey Day. Yeah, man, happy Thanksgiving to you too, you and yours. Based on tonight's performance in the season in general, what do you feel this coaching staff has done to turn Texas Tech football into a winning team? Well, for one, they've recruited very well. They have the number one rated class in terms of 2024 for the future Big 12. It means all the new schools coming. That's including Colorado, Arizona State, Utah, and obviously with UT and OU leaving. So I think it's 22nd in the country last I checked, and they already have 6 commits for the 2025 class. They are recruiting. I like their 2023 class. They're recruiting very well. They've done tonight, notwithstanding, of course. They played really well in November. That's been a big change from the previous several coaching staffs. So, and they've also posted Big 12 winning records in the Big 12 2 years in a row for the first time. I mean, the first time they did that, or the last time they did that before last season, Joel McGuire's first season, was 2009. And that was the last time they had back-to-back winning seasons in the Big 12 was 08 and 09. So, I mean, they're doing some things. It's going to be hard for anybody to want to hear anything positive from me. But if you ask me a question, I'm going to give you my honest answer. This season was a huge disappointment. There's no getting around that. But there are some things that they've done to show improvement in the program. And some of those things are what I just mentioned. Major Texas fan here. Y'all got a dog in Taj Brooks. Dude was breaking tackles left and right in the first half. Best of luck to you all in the future, Big 12. That's a very classy thing for you to say. I will counter back with you that Texas is clearly legit this year. I'm not going to wish Texas luck. I don't hate Texas as much as a lot of Texas Tech fans because I'm a native Texan. And like, for example, between Texas and Oklahoma, I would probably prefer to see Texas win because, again, I'm a Texan. Born and raised and lived my whole life in Texas. So I don't have quite the vitriol for Texas that I think a lot of Texas Tech fans have. But the football, the guy's been doing this job for a long time. The guy who's covered a lot of football games, including a lot of Texas games that Texas Tech wasn't involved in. They're legit, especially, I mean, obviously the speed and some of the talent in other places – in skill position or in the back end, the secondary. I mean, there's talent, but on the offensive defensive lines, that combo you have in the interior defensive line is really good, and the offensive line is solid. This is one of the better Texas offensive lines, I feel like, in some time. I think that's why you won 11 games in the regular season. So with a shot winning the Big 12. So we'll see how you do in the SEC. It'll be interesting to see if recruiting actually improves going to the SEC or not. But I mean, it's obviously pretty highly ranked already. All right. Mike Bauer says, thanks for the kind words. Yeah, man, it's the truth. I really like your barbecue channel. It's awesome, man. It's really good. You definitely have a lot higher production than I do. I don't spend a lot of time or money on production, but your If you want to post, I can't. I follow you obviously, but I don't remember exactly what your channel name is. But go ahead and post it here in the chat if you want to, because be doing anybody on here a favor, because your reviews and everything is first rate. Our first rate. Marty Garcia says, in your opinion, could Morton have done better, or should he have been put in better situation and plays by Kitley? Yes, Morton could have played better, but offensive line just got worked, man. It got worked over, just dominated. And I gave a lot of props to the offensive line last week, and deservedly so. But they were facing a different animal tonight. Texas was fired up, dialed in. They came after Morton, and neither the offensive line or Kitley or Morton had any answer. The only guy who looked like he belonged on the field, at least for in that phase of the game, against Texas was Taj Brooks. He was amazing. He had a couple of runs that just had me laughing because they were awesome. He's just a terrific player, not just one of the best running backs in Texas Tech history, but I think he's one of the best overall players in Texas Tech history. And it's a shame that he had this remarkable season on a 6-6 team, but boy, were we lucky to get to see him play this year. And can you imagine what this offense would have looked like without Taj Brooks this year? Whew, man. I do think you would be replacing Kitley for sure if it wasn't for Taj Brooks. Because what would they have, But to go back to Morton, he had some errant throws. He got hit a lot. He made some poor decisions. I think one of the interceptions, the one to Jerand Bradley, what's going on with Jerand Bradley? For one, he got out jumped for a ball against a smaller defender. And then another one, the guy had great coverage, but he didn't get any separation, and he didn't fight really hard. Like he had a significant weight and size advantage over that guy, and he just got out. He got bullied for the ball. So I don't know what happened to Bradley, but if he comes back to Texas Tech or if he goes somewhere else, he needs to man up, because he's capable of playing much better and a lot more physically, because he's not going to run away from a lot of dudes, but he should be able to out-physical almost every DB who's smaller than him. So that could have helped Barron out a lot more. Joe Gutierrez says, nasty, filthy, ugly loss, and that's all I have to say about that. I mean, honestly, that pretty much wraps a bow around it. From Syntax said, oh, here we go. Still a two-possession game. UT is getting the ball after half, and we go for it on fourth down instead of our own 40, making it a three-possession game. Any comments? Yeah, it didn't work. It backfired. So clearly it was a terrible decision. I think also play design. I think my biggest problem with going forward on fourth down is your offense is inefficient. It's been inefficient no matter who the quarterback is, almost who you're playing against, all that stuff all year. So that's got to go into the numbers. That's got to be calculated. And, I obviously I don't think Tech would have won the game if they would have punted there, but it didn't help the cause. And trust me, I understand the point you're trying to make. Don't stop going forward on fourth down so much. Gerald DeVros says, how many plays does Kitley have? I have 5 plays. That's funny. I mean, I think Kitley deserves all the criticism he gets. I think it's not all on him, but he didn't do a lot to help his offense this year. Only thing I'd say, even though it was slow, is that he did shift to an offense centered around Taj Brooks. So, I mean, I don't think it takes a genius to figure that out, but he did do that in time for them to at least go on that 3-game winning streak. Marty Garcia says he thinks Barron Morton is Tech's future. He just doesn't get put in good situation at times. What are your thoughts? Yeah, I mean, they definitely could help him out more. I mean, tell me the explosive receiver he had on the field today. I mean, maybe Dre McCray, but he had that big drop on a beautiful pass from Morton. And then there was another drop late, which the game was already over, but I think it was Xavier White where he threw a really nice back shoulder fade. So he's not getting a lot of help in terms of explosive receivers. They haven't really been able to utilize the tight ends the way I had hoped, given their size and speed and ability and all that. But part of that is because the offensive lines needed help, needed the tight ends to stay in. So I don't like this air raid scheme. Um, I think the air raid needs to be put to bed, to be honest. Football is cyclical. Defenses have been, uh, they figured it out, and they have the personnel to defend it. And then someone else would debate, hey, it doesn't really matter the scheme you run as long as you do it well. Well, Tech's doing. I don't like the scheme. They haven't executed well. So I think Barron showed some signs of growth this year with the experience and going through the injuries, the adversity he had to. He played good enough to win. For the most part, he played mistake-free football. I'll be interested to see what a healthy Barron Morton can do next year for sure. And hopefully he is put in better situations. Austin Rushing says, just a rough one. Still got a bowl game coming, though. That's right. So could still win 7 games this year. I'm not going to jump for joy and like big time hype up this season at all. There are some good things about it. I think the resiliency they showed in going on that 3-game winning streak after having a lot of adversity, but I also think there's a lot of potential for this team that was untapped, and I blame the coaches mostly, but some of the players on offense too. I think the defense at times played inspiring. Against Kansas, against UCF, they played some inspiring football. So it's a shame that with one of the better defenses Tech has had this century, let's be honest, certainly in the last couple of decades, or at least decade and a half, and then one of the best running backs in program history that you couldn't come up with, and pretty good. And it wasn't good tonight. Special teams was terrible tonight, but for the most part, special teams has been really good this year. So I mean, you had a lot of things going for you. It's just really the passing game and just the offense overall, just so inefficient and just subpar. I feel like that really cost your team, and that's disappointing. Yeah. Austin Rushing says, just a rough one. Still got a bowl game coming, though. Oh, you already said that. Gerald DeVreau says, Joey, get it together, just not with Kitley. Wow, we got the D, just not the OC. Yeah, that's pretty good. I may use that. I'll give you credit, though, if I use that on the board or anywhere. Because I agree. I wouldn't have a problem with, again, if they moved on. If they wanted, I don't think they are. I think he'll probably be back next year. But I haven't seen anything that's really impressed me at all. So I get it. Curtis Parsons says the depression is real. Yeah, I get it. I do. At least the basketball team won. It was, you know what? I mean, at one point yesterday, Tech was down 15 to Northern Iowa, and I was like, man, this is good. This is going to be a long basketball season. That's disappointing. They came back and won that game, and then really kicked Michigan's butt with the best performance of the season this year. Good on defense, looked good moving the ball around. Feel a lot better coming out of today, the tournament overall, 2 wins against 2 teams that will probably be in the NCAA tournament too. So this will really help the resume. But then I did, at one point yesterday, I mean, down 15 points in the second half, it was like, man, I don't know about this team, but hey, they showed some toughness, and at least that's something to look forward to. Erasmo Gutierrez says, how bad does this hurt Tech? I mean, it hurts in terms of like, this was the final game. Texas will always be like, hey, remember that last game we played? We crushed you. So that sucks for Tech fans. I mean, let's be honest. But in terms of the season, I mean, you have a lesser bowl. So this season, the story was really, it was written in non-conference, and then there was a revision with the 3-game winning streak in terms of, well, it's still a disappointing season, but at least they made a bowl game and showed some heart and some fight. And then now it's just basically like, you also got smoked by Texas and Austin in the final game. So I don't think it really hurts overall in the grand scheme of things a whole lot, other than pride for sure. I mean, it was an embarrassing loss on national television. Mike Bauer said there'll be no offense without Brooks. I mean, yeah, hard to argue. We got some Longhorn fans throwing the hook 'em sign up on here. Prayers for Cameron Watts. Felt awful when he got taken out. As a Texas fan, it hurts seeing a player get hurt. Heard good luck on y'all's bowl game. Still rooting for Texas teams. Thank you, Joshua. Same guy threw the hook 'em up. Yeah, I haven't heard about Cameron Watts yet. I'll see if there's a statement released by Tech. I've been busy doing content and everything. It's been a busy day. A lot going on today with Tech. I hope he's okay, obviously, as well. Thank you for saying that. If I get an update while I'm doing this, I'll post it on here. Right. Gerald Devereaux says, analytics works only if you have the caliber of playmakers. I agree with that. He also said he didn't see number one today. Yeah, Miles Price. Yeah, he's been out last 2 weeks with an injury, and that hadn't helped. But I mean, he wouldn't have been worth 50 points. Ooh, Troy. I hope that you were wasted, and that's why you're typing like this. Because Texas Tech didn't. I think you're trying to say Texas Tech doesn't do the air raid. It's mostly running, and it's embarrassing. Okay. Luke Pacheco says, I still owe $30,000 to this institution. Who cares about a bowl? I mean, damn, those student loans will get you. Matt, that's all I have to say about that. I mean, you knew you were going to have those payments, right? I mean, hopefully, you have a good job and you'll be able to pay that off. But I mean, that's a common thing are those student loan payments. Matthew Hernandez says Morton unquestioned starter next year. Yes, he is. Gerald Devereaux says Barron is going to have competition next year for sure. From who? Man, I really don't see Hammond challenging as a true freshman. Maybe the next year. And I don't know about Jake Strong. I mean, he was having a hard time handing the ball off in some games in that game against BYU. Maybe he'll be really good, but Baron Morton's going to be your starter. Going if he's healthy, Baron Morton will be the opening day starter next year. RL says he misses Mike Leach. Rest in peace. GBYO says, what makes you think Kitley will be back next year? I think they're going to give him one more year. I just that's what I believe. John Boyd says total embarrassment. Rasmus Gutierrez says, thank you for what you do. I live in South Korea and I follow you and your content religiously. Always rec them no matter what. I appreciate you saying that, man. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Gerald Devereaux says, JJ, I think you have the post game. You one of the best. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that, man. Thanks for watching. All right, Mike Bauer says Watts was released and is traveling home with the team. Thank you for that update. Gilbert Galvan wants to know if Kitley will be back next year. I believe he will, but I don't know that for a fact. We'll see. Also, Jason Baumgardner says Don Williams tweeted Watts checked out okay and is traveling back with the team. Great. Oh. John says, does anyone actually care about going to a toilet bowl at this point? I mean, I think that's fair. I know just from what I do that it matters in recruiting. I know that it matters in terms of these guys getting those practices and the overall health of the program and all that stuff. I mean, I do, but I also understand fans don't want to hear that right now, and I respect that. Edward Santos says Texas Tech needs a new AD for sure. I mean, I think a lot of people in my position would just laugh you off and say, no. I personally don't have a problem with Kirby Hocutt. But on the other hand, I mean, it's about football, right? like for me, I like going to a track meet and watching athletes perform. I think they're amazing and it's entertaining to me. But in the grand scheme of things, sports like track, women's soccer, um, basically everything not football and men's basketball, just are their niche sports in college, even baseball. And Tech has a great fan base in baseball. And I get it, all that. I'm not trying to downgrade what those coaches and those athletes do, but the truth is an athletic director is judged mostly on how its football program does. And then some how its basketball program does. All the success in the other sports are great. I'm really happy. And there are some Texas Tech diehards who they love it, man. And I think that's great. But again, big picture, I mean, the Matt Wells hiring where and they've tried to do some revisionist history, but no, I was there when Hoka said, this was my hiring, I had mine alone, and all that. And I even asked him when Wells was fired. I was like, you said this was your guy, and you were the one who went out and found him and hired him, and he didn't work out. What's your, what is your answer for that? What can you tell Texas Tech fans after making that mistake? And he gave the answer you'd expect someone in his position to give. It was fine, but I mean, what has the football program done under Hoka? Not a whole lot. Let's be honest. They've been mostly irrelevant for most of Hoka's tenure, and so that's just the truth. Now, again, a lot of the other sports have been fantastic. National championship in track, that's great. A lot of Big 12 titles, that's cool too. The women's soccer program, obviously, is great season and good program. Golf, tennis, all that. The baseball team has gone to the College World Series, 4 times under Tadlock, and Tadlock's the perfect coach for Texas Tech and all that. But basketball went to the national championship, has had a lot of success, and that is a feather in his cap. But also, he let Beard go. So, and that's a whole debate for a whole nother thing. But all I'm saying is though I'm not saying they should definitely get rid of Kirby Hocutt or anything like that. I'm not laughing at you for suggesting that, and I think a lot of people here in Lubbock who are in the media would do that just for their relationship with Hocutt. I'm not gonna. I really do try and call it like I believe it is, like I see it, and I think there is some of the criticism is warranted, but a lot of people here in Lubbock would disagree with that. All right. Hey, from Syntex, if you're still watching, or Mike Bowers or whoever else on Inside the Red Raiders, please post a link on the board there. I forgot to do it. I would greatly appreciate that. Pool Dunnett says, was at the game. At the end, they played the Commissioner Yormark clip. Yeah, I saw that on TV too. He says, from the Red Raider Club dinner, which they clearly use as bulletin board material. Well, that's true. And Texas was hyped up. But I think there were a lot of things. I mean, the Joey McGuire, everything runs through Lubbock after Tech beat Texas last year. And I've heard McGuire talk about that. He didn't want that out on social media. And I actually talked to the guy at Tech who posted on social media, and he got called into the office, and there was going to be more checks and balances, and you can't just post something without it, getting the okay and all that. So it wasn't something that was intentionally posted out there, but it was posted out there. And I mean, if I was a Texas player, I'd be like, okay, I'm ready for that game next year. And then, I guess what Yormark said, clearly it mattered to Texas with them posting it at their stadium. So it's, again, probably, if you're writing a script, couldn't have written it any worse for Texas Tech or any better for Texas, the way the game played out tonight, unfortunately. Gerald Devereaux says, who do you think will stand out next year besides Micah? Boy, Micah Hudson is an amazing talent, big-time player, and I'm expecting him to do big things at Texas Tech. But a lot of people are expecting him to step in and just be one of the better players in the Big 12. It doesn't always work that way, even with great talents like Micah as true freshmen. So I hope he is. I hope he's as good as everyone's hoping for him to be as a true freshman. It's good that he's going to be an early enrollee. He'll be here next month, I guess. For the spring semester. So that's that. Jacob Harris confirmed with him, one of our staff writers on Inside the Red Raiders. Good job by him, and that's great news. But in terms of Texas Tech on offense, it's going to be interesting. Kelby Balson is a young receiver to watch. I think he's got a lot of potential. He's a guy I saw in fall camp actually make some eye-popping catches. The type he had put on film in high school coming out of what I think Arlington Bowie. So, man, I don't know. I'm going to have to get back to you on that one. And plus, I don't want to just regurgitate what these coaches have said because it's come back to bite me a little bit. I want to see it for myself. Jason Baumgardner says the bounce off the foot for an interception return for a TD was the epitome of tonight's game. Nothing bounced our way. Yeah, I agree with that. But also, Texas took it to Tech. Let's give them credit. I know that's tough to do sometimes when you get murked by the opposing team, especially this game between these two opponents. But Texas deserved it. They took it to Tech, and but then they also got that. That's how you end up losing by 50 points, right? You're outmatched or you get outplayed, but then also the breaks go against you. Do I think Tech can NIL purchase an offense and defensive line like Texas? $50,000 a year is enticing. I hope so. No, but I would hope so. If that's what it takes. That's the game now. Like it, hate it, or whatever. This is what it is, and I don't think it's going anywhere. Sir Nix-a-Lot says, with all the success Tech athletes have had at the next level now in golf too, I don't understand why we cannot get over the hump in football. You do have arguably the best player in the sport from your university playing in Patrick Mahomes. But in terms of, he didn't even win when he was here because the defense was maybe the worst in the history of college football when he was here. But there's been a number of factors in play there. The Mike Leach split was really bad for the program. Tuberville was a terrible hire. Kingsbury was a terrible hire. Wells was a terrible hire. So, I think you got to hire the right coach. I do believe the overall program is sound. The foundation is strong. And I think that's reflected in recruiting. But they're going to have to keep doing it. And it's going to take some time. Football takes more time. Basketball, you can go out and get 2 players and turn your program around. Football, even a Micah Hudson might take time to develop. So it just takes more time, and nobody wants to hear that. I understand it, but we'll see what we're talking about in 2 years. From Centix says with the GR, I don't know what you're saying there, man. John says, what is it going to take for this university to start hiring qualified leadership with proven track records of success and big-time roles? I'm going to take that as a rhetorical question. Old Texas Techman says he thinks Kitley is a problem. You might be right. I think there's more that goes into it, but yeah. Chadley Stuhler says Gary Patterson is one to coach again. Yeah, pass. I covered him when I was at the 4-Star Telegram. He was a great coach. Don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of crazy to Gary Patterson, and maybe he would win, and that's fine if he's crazy. But I would rather have McGuire coaching right now than Patterson, and in this moment at Texas Tech. And some people are going to think I'm crazy for saying that, but Raymond Storm says everything runs through Texas Tech. Laugh out loud. Yes, congratulations. Gerald Devereaux says, why do I keep mispronouncing your name? Sorry. Uh, so he likes Joey. He thinks he's the right fit for Texas Tech. I agree. DC hopes will stay. Man, I hope DeRuyter stays too. He says they do need to get away from the air raid. Your thoughts? Do you got a name of somebody? I'm not going to throw out names to replace a coach who's still here. I'm not going to do that. Just unless it's just really obvious or I have info knowing that this guy's going to go. I just don't believe in that. I think unethical is an overreaction, but it doesn't sit right with me. I've done that in the past. It didn't sit right with me. I don't like it. I understand the question, and I think it's a fair question, but I don't want to do that. Not for any other reason than my own personal feelings on it. I mean, I've already said I wouldn't mind if they move on. He might be the problem, so I'm not scared. Again, unethical is probably too strong, but it doesn't sit well with me. Greg Molinak says Tech football has been irrelevant since they fired Mike Leach. I love your commentary. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, that's true. Sir Nix-a-Lot says if we played OU, Oklahoma State, and what ISU this season, I don't think we even go bowling. Well, I don't know. I mean, you can't really compare a lot of the games, but I mean, Oklahoma State got blown out by Central Florida. Tech beat Central Florida. I mean, I'm not saying that Tech would have beaten Oklahoma State, especially if it was there in Stillwater, but I mean, I think they could have competed with them. So I don't know. From Syntex says, post it. Man, I really appreciate you. Thank you. It's a little late. I'm about to jump off, but I'll probably go another 10 minutes. We're here, right? Might as well talk it out. Philip Beasley says, I have to believe that Kitley can't be this bad. It's got to be limitations of our personnel offensively. I think Morton is hurt worse than reported to. Now, I think Kitley's been pretty bad. And then no matter what, like I even wrote, I did like a running notes. Unfortunately, that was terrible from the game tonight. Mighty Joe was doing basketball, so I'd say, hey, I'll just take over football. You don't have to do Jaeger shots, at least not tonight for football, which he probably won't even do them tomorrow. I think we'll do our day after podcast, just kind of wrapping the regular season as well. But, bottom line is the offensive line got worked from the opening snap, and that makes it really hard to call plays. I mean, it does. But he's responsible for the offense. He's responsible for those receivers running 2-3 yards short of the sticks on third down, fourth down consistently, which drives me insane. Rusty Stats is a guy he should be very familiar with, that he coached at Western Kentucky, and he has been one of the biggest letdowns. And to the Stats family out there, I'm sure you probably hate me at this point, but this is big boy football now. They're getting paid, all that stuff. I don't feel bad about. I give them love when they do well, and I call it like it is when they struggle. He struggled all season. He struggled tonight. Not just him. Monroe Mills, same thing. Up and down this year. Struggled tonight. And Dennis Wilburn has been really good. He got pushed around some tonight. So, that didn't help Kitley out, but it's still his scheme. It's still your job as the offensive coordinator. That's why you get paid the big bucks and all that, is to get your players in the right position. And Stats is a guy that he brought over from Western Kentucky. He knew about him and Cole Spencer, who missed a lot of the season and wasn't good when he was in either. So, ultimately it's on him. And it's like the old cliche, they get too much credit when they have like a Patrick Mahomes type talent. They get too much of the blame when, the team doesn't succeed. But the offense didn't show a lot of innovation, wasn't explosive, wasn't efficient. It was slow to transition to a Taj Brooks-led team. Now, he did that, and that, I think, was a big part of the win streak. Not all of it, but a big part of it. Kitley deserves criticism. I'm not going to back away from that. But the players on offense, outside just a couple of guys, obviously Taj Brooks being one of them, they deserve a lot of criticism too. A lot of those guys did not live up to their potential this year, whether it was Kitley's fault or a major mostly his fault or not. I mean, they still, when the ball was in the air, Duran Bradley did not come down with those one-on-ones a lot this year. Those guys aren't winning those one-on-one blocks that were didn't tonight. So there's a lot of blame to go around, I guess is what I'm saying. Chadley Stiller says Texas Tech's third string looked more talented than Tech starters. Okay. I mean, it's impossible to tell at that point of the game. With a weaker Big 12 next year, Tech can make a real run with legit play calling. Yeah, I hope so. But I'm not going to say that. That's for sure. We'll see. I want to see. I want to see them in spring ball. Edwin Santos Jr. says, in your honest assessment, predicting ability and honesty, what I like about you, which is why I watch all the time. Thank you. Does Texas Tech fire football head coach McGuire? I hope not. I really believe he's perfect for the situation now. Is he a perfect coach? No. Has he made some decisions that make me want to smack my head into the wall sometimes? Yes. But in terms of recruiting, the health of this program, it hasn't been this good in a while. And just the whole structure of the program. And if they brought in somebody else and redid it and brought that down, I think it would be a huge mistake. I think you'd set Tech back another couple of years. Now, what I can't answer you is Joey McGuire the guy to take Texas Tech from winning 6 or 7 games to winning 8 or 9 or maybe more a season? That remains to be seen. We don't know. But I will tell you that, I don't think he's going to get fired. Certainly not after this year. And I don't think, barring some kind of off the field, TMZ type thing, I think he'll probably be here for the 2025 season as well, at least. But I think it would be a mistake to cut him loose. I really do. I mean, that's what I honestly believe. I think he's the perfect fit for Texas Tech right now. And even if you hold on to him for a couple more years and Tech only wins 6 or 7 more games, that's another couple of years of his recruiting, which is the best we've seen at Texas Tech. Definitely this century, arguably in the last 50 years, or if not more. I mean, they're recruiting lights out. They've gotten like 4 recruits since the last live stream I did, 4 more commits. So, and they're good players, like Texas top 100 guys or junior college, borderline 4-star, that defensive tackle that visited for the UCF game. So I do not think he's going to get fired. I don't think he should be fired. I don't think that should be a consideration. Now, Kitley's another conversation entirely. Jim Zanio says, get out and get 26'5" linemen. Leach was the only coach at Texas Tech with giant linemen. Coach them up in skill position, shine. Get the Midwest D2 portal. Come on. He won 85 games with Giants. Wake up. I mean, sounds good to me. That 2008 offensive line truly was ginormous. I mean, they were physically imposing. Brandon Carter actually told me a story where they would call out, or no, I can't remember. One of the offensive linemen on that group told a story about calling out plays before. I think they were playing Oklahoma State. Like, we're going to run this play right here. Like, basically gave them the count too. And it's like, you can't do anything about it. And they would, still blow them off the line of scrimmage. So, yeah, that would be nice. That'd be a big improvement for sure, because offensive line recruiting has been really bad. Joey McGuire, James Blanchard, people on the staff are starting to change that. But, I mean, you don't just bring freshman offensive linemen in and play them. So, Old Texas Techman says, we need to look at offensive coordinator this offseason. You might be right. P.S. says, sometimes you run into a buzzsaw. McGuire's not getting fired. What's wrong with people? I mean, let the coaches – let's fire coaches every 2 years. Yeah, I mean, that would be a huge mistake. I agree with you. Jason Bob Gunner says, Kingsbury got Mahomes to Tech. That's one feather for that regime. Well, that's absolutely true. I mean, I wrote a story in Dave Campbell's Texas Football about that, and, of course, talked about it on what was Raider Power at the time, all the time. That Kingsbury was a guy who got Mahomes to Texas Tech, and was one of the only guys in his position to believe in him. And Mahomes told me about it, like just his trust for Kingsbury and all that, just how much it meant to him. So I agree. Martin Young says, is Kelly the problem, or is it him trying to make players he didn't recruit for his system? Let's see what he does with some of his and McGuire's recruits, still playing a lot of Wells players. Well, I mean, to me, that is coaching, is being able to transition and being able to dial up plays, formations, what have you, to fit your personnel so that to put them in the best position to succeed. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of blame to go around. Some of it has been the talent. Some of it is players with talent and potential who didn't live up to it this year. Now, was that something individually that went on with them, or was it Kitley's scheme, or are we talking about everything? A little bit of everything. That might be the case. So, I just think ultimately, if you're a coordinator, like Tim DeRuyter should get a lot of credit for fielding one of the best defenses we've seen at Texas Tech in a long time, and I'm always quick to throw out love for him, and I hope he stays at Texas Tech. Boy, I'm more concerned with them retaining him. I've not heard anything about him leaving, but it's just the nature of the business and all that. Somebody may offer him a head coaching gig, or something, anything can happen. I just really hope they retain Tim DeRuyter. That's my big concern more than Zach Kitley. But then it is Zach Kitley. Like, I've been underwhelmed. It's the nicest way I could say it. Stephen Walsh said, glad the young man carted off the field is okay. At the end of the day, it's just a game. Texas fan. Thanks for saying that. That's really classy. PS wants to know, who's the best Madden gamer? They can be okay. Just kidding, kind of. On this whole, my son is amazing at Madden, actually. My 12-year-old son. Y'all don't want any of that. Trust me, that guy, he's amazing. And I'm really good at video games and stuff, but he loves Madden. R. Frank says, just tuned in. This one stings. Let's focus on the future. We have some good recruits coming in. Yeah, they do have some good recruits coming in, and that is really exciting. And I think recruiting is the most accurate reflection of the current state of a program, and recruiting is doing very well, which is why I'm saying the foundation. I like the strength staff. I like the personnel department led by James Blanchard. I think he does a tremendous job, and several of the people that work with him. There's some things with Texas Tech and their program, their foundation, that is really healthy. So let's see what they do. Let's let it percolate a little bit, see if they can come up with better results than what we saw this year, and certainly tonight. PS says Zappy may have made Kitley. Yeah, I mean, absolutely, that might have happened. And, he may have had a big part in helping Zappy develop too. So Roy Melton says, well, that was utter pain, even though I didn't expect to win. Yeah, it was unpleasant. It was not fun. It was not a good time. Jason Baumgartner says, appreciate the time and post-game decompression. Right back at you, man. It does help me decompress a little bit, especially from losses. Gerald Devereaux says, politics playing to Kitley sticking around. Maybe they don't know how to recognize talent, put these kids in the right position to be successful. What are the politics? That they don't want to piss off their great track coach? I mean, how does that – I still hesitate to understand. If there's something else that you're referring to, then please tell me, because that might be the case. I mean, it happens. But if Texas Tech and anybody who actually can make decisions, whether it be big-time donors, I think some of y'all know some of the guys, I would mention or one could come up with, Kirby Hocutt, whoever, the president, anybody who's making decisions on this, if they are considering not angering their track coach at the detriment to the football program, then they need to be removed immediately, because it's football. It's where it's at in college sports, and what it means to the university overall. So I really hope that's not the case. I find that very hard to believe. Our Frank says wide receivers were the disappointment of the year. I 100% agree with you. They were not good, period. I don't play here, play there, but overall, this was the best or the worst, excuse me, the worst group of receivers in Texas Tech in 23 years, at least, maybe even more. Just not good. The BML2 says that performance for the probable last time is such a bad omen. Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that. It just sucks that that's going to be the final. Why wasn't it last year? I thought that last year. I was like, I wish they could just end right here and not play again, because that would be a great way to go out, but that's not what happened. Old Texas Techman says, keep McGuire. I agree. Man, I don't know if I can say your name, but he said, I was like Emilio. I was like Emilio, excuse me. He says, thanks, JJ, for staying up with us. Needed the bunker. Hey, man, thanks for staying up with me. I appreciate it. P.S. says, speaking of TMZ, Getty News is kind of gross. Ryan G says, Harold OC. Oh, man, no. Get away from the air raid or any derivative of that. Old Texas Techman says, I respect Gundy because he's been at Oklahoma State for years. That's what Tech needs for a coach to stay for a long time. I mean, I agree. The right coach. Ryan G says, your thoughts on the wide receiver coach? Ugh, that's a tough one. Juice Johnson, his first season, the receivers regressed. I mean, let's be honest. Great recruiter, though. I mean, a great recruiter. So, I mean, I guess some people would say, well, put him on the recruiting staff, but he's not going to do that. So, he's one of McGuire's guys. So we'll see. I don't think he's going to go anywhere. So we'll see. Hopefully he has a better next year, because this year was bad. Jared Forrest says, got to recruit O-line. Horrible play all year. Yeah, I agree. They're doing that. They brought in numbers offensive line last year, this year, and I know they want to bring in some more. I know they're going to go to the transfer portal and look for another offensive lineman to give immediate help for next year too. So, I mean, I absolutely agree with you. Sir Nick-a-Lot says, man, I miss those years of Jared Hicks, Filani, Welker. Oh, that sounds amazing, doesn't it? Et cetera, et cetera. I mean, the Amendolas, the Darren Moores. Even Darren Moore was a baller, man. Who else? I mean, we can go on and on with the receivers at Texas Tech over the years, but none of those guys are here right now. Miles Price had a pretty solid season when healthy, but not great, So Coy Aikens showed some signs, but nothing spectacular. Jerram Bradley had a terrible season. What happened to Fungi, man? Where'd he go? JJ Sparkman doesn't see the field except a block. It's just, it hadn't been great, Old Texas Techman says, love you, JJ. Well, man, I love you too. Thanks for watching and chiming in and chatting and contributing. The BML2 says maybe an air raid O-line. Well, maybe so. PS says rough year for Juice. Yeah, that's what we were just talking about. Gerald Devereaux says, good night, brother. I think I decompressed. Waiting for you and Mighty Joe. Oof, man, Mickey Peters, Hendo, Hodges, Simmons. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. I think I'm going to leave it at that with some good memories from overall bad night and some bad memories tonight. I do got to say it was good that the basketball team beat Michigan. That was nice. But I think this is our longest live stream of the year, so don't say I'm scared. I'm willing to talk good times, bad times. That's what we do, right? We talk it out. I appreciate y'all watching. Thank you so much. Big thanks to Red Ritter Outfitter for everything they do for me, for the site, for our radio show, The Rock and Pregame on Rock 101.1 FM here in Lubbock. Thank y'all for contributing, and we'll do one after the bowl game. Maybe I'll do one leading up to the bowl game after we find out who they're playing and where they're playing and all that. But thank y'all for doing this with me this year and all your support and everything. It's an honor and privilege to do this in Lubbock and covering Texas Tech athletics. So thank y'all.